Rin, a wandering mage between worlds, snaps awake stranded in a place with 0 mana after successfully swiping a holy grail. She's stuck, no teleport spell works, and she's spiraling for a hot second before forcing herself to lock in, take a breath, and start doing inventory instead of full panicking. She checks her jewel stash and realizes her usual jump magic is running on empty. The vibe is wrong universe, wrong toolkit, but she decides panicking won't refill her mana bar, so she pivots to plan B, summon a servant using raw willpower instead of actual magecraft. Rin sets up the summoning circle anyway, banking on the grail still reacting to her will without real mana in the air. She hypes herself up, cracks a joke about her own luck, and commits to the ritual, aware this could either save her or blow up in her face. The ritual goes sideways fast, first taunting a fleeing goddess figure before an unrelated girl accuses Rin of grail theft and threatens to zap her. Rin realizes she summoned a random hero from a whole different story into her mess, and now has to talk her way out of a fight. The dust settles, and a wandering hero jumps in to help fend off the chaos, right as 2 law enforcement types roll up, asking questions about a grail robbery. Rin gets pegged as a suspect on sight, twin tails and red outfit, checking every box on their witness description. Side plot alert, a bubbly rookie live streamer is mid-debut broadcast, hyping a scavenger hunt for treasure that conveniently lines up with weird golden loot raining from the sky the night before. Nobody in Rin's crew knows it yet, but this stream is a breadcrumb trail for the mystery. Rin and her new hero buddy track down a shady info broker running a detective office with a talking assistant who somehow has better manners than the actual detective. He's less trustworthy sleuth and more confidence, man who gets lucky, but he's got intel on the treasure situation nobody else has. Turns out that golden rain everyone's freaking out about is straight from a legendary king's personal vault, meaning one of the wildest hoarders in mythology is already loose in this world. Rin clocks the ancient cuneiform on one item, connecting dots faster than anyone expected from someone who got yeeted here. The reveal lands. This whole situation is a brand new Grail War, cosplaying the plot of a legendary past one, complete with 7 master and servant pairs. Rin and her hero friend got pulled in as bonus contestants because the Grail turned her memories into real walking fighting content. A local peacekeeping org recruits Rin and her servant as official consultants/field agents, since apparently they're the most qualified people around for Grail chaos. Perks include expense accounts and an Employee of the Month nomination, and the mission is simple: contain the mess and stay quiet about it. Hi there. If you want to enjoy more gaming lore without grinding for 60 hours, hit that subscribe button. I do the grinding so you don't have to. Your support really helps the channel. The team hits the ground collecting stray magic energy that got scattered everywhere, running into a pair of wolf-eared homunculus dudes convinced they're serving their original caster creator. Something's off about their whole vibe though, like they're being puppeted without knowing it, which is as unsettling as it sounds. Plot twist mid-fight, the homunculus duo slowly realizes their true master was never who they thought. It's the live streamer from earlier who's been quietly redirecting their loyalty this whole time. Watching 2 guys have an identity crisis mid-battle is oddly touching and also extremely chaotic to witness. After wrapping that fight, Rin's crew keeps chasing the source of the leaked treasure and finally runs face first into the legendary king himself, who is exactly as extra as advertised. He's arrogant, hilarious, and treats the entire multiverse like his personal collection, testing everyone's nerve for fun. Against all odds, the king decides Rin's group amuses him enough to work with, floating the idea of founding a recovery foundation, so treasure hunting looks official instead of criminal. Under the bragging, there's a grudge against the live streamer for trespassing on his stuff, and he wants payback dressed up as bureaucracy. Cue a much-needed breather episode: snacks, shopping, teasing, and genuine bonding, while everyone processes how unhinged the last few hours have been. Rin gets clowned about her cosmic destiny blessing tied to her hero companion, and the banter hits different after non-stop fighting and near-death experiences. Rin drops lore about a love and war goddess who's the multiverse's most petty deity, someone who turns rejection into apocalyptic tantrums without blinking. The group realizes if this goddess is remotely involved in the current mess, they're not dealing with some side character, they're dealing with a legit final boss. The legendary king keeps flexing his vault contents while pretending not to care about the group at all, but slips in enough details about his history with the goddess to prove he's more invested than he lets on. Rich, arrogant, chaotic energy, but weirdly useful when he wants to be. Day 2 of this ordeal opens with a beach detour that turns into an investigation, since apparently a genius witch obsessed with treating gym games as philosophy is somewhere nearby. Her whole personality is muscle equals rational thought, which is either the funniest or most unhinged take anyone's dropped yet. The fight against the muscle-obsessed genius escalates into an actual philosophical debate about whether physical training counts as intellectual growth, delivered mid-combat like it's normal. She loses hands over a literal fitness item as a prize, and drops surprisingly heavy commentary about magic chasing the impossible. Deeper lore drop. Mages spend lifetimes chasing something called the root, the origin point of everything, knowing full well it's trying to turn a full-grown plant back into a seed. Rin admits the logic is broken, but keeps chasing it anyway, because, in her words, it's simply more fun that way. The legendary king crashes the beach chaos again, clocking the goddess's blessing on Rin's earrings and warning her about the cosmic consequences of wearing literal divine jewelry. He trades some hard-won knowledge for Rin's notes on the root, proving that even gods respect a good info swap. A tiny green chimera creature joins the crew as an unlikely ally, and the king reveals his loyalty runs painfully shallow except for one person from his past. It becomes clear the Foundation cover story was always about revenge, dressed up as legitimate business, which tracks with his personality. The group finally connects the dots. The Livestreamer has been quietly spreading rumors to bait other masters into killing each other over the scattered treasure. That means every random encounter up to this point wasn't random at all. It was manipulation dressed up as chaos, and the stakes got a lot higher. Cue a full battle montage, blades clashing, noble phantasms activating left and right, and enough dramatic one-liners to fill a highlight reel. The teams getting stronger together fast, learning each other's fighting styles in real time, while getting absolutely swarmed by whatever forces the true culprit keeps throwing at them. The fighting keeps escalating into cinematic territory. Everyone unleashing signature moves back to back like the story's building toward something bigger. It's chaotic in the best way, less about winning cleanly and more about surviving long enough to figure out who's actually orchestrating this entire mess behind the scenes. More clashing follows the crew, getting swarmed from every direction while still managing to crack jokes between attacks, because apparently comic timing survives divine-level chaos. Every fight here is doubling as a trust exercise, forcing this ragtag group of heroes from wildly different stories to function as one team. Eventually, the crew corners something posing as the goddess herself, except up close, it's obviously a cobbled-together fake, more patchwork monster than actual deity. Rin clocks immediately that whoever built this thing has zero taste, roasting the disguise mid-fight instead of taking the threat seriously. Interrogating the leftover memory constructs reveals more of the real story. The Livestreamer enslaved a rider servant and forced her to manifest her worst memories to stay in control. It's dark under the comedy, turning what looked like petty rivalry into something closer to actual exploitation and quiet tragedy. The pace slows for a real gut punch. Rin opens up about her actual backstory, her father's death in a past Grail War, and the complicated guardian who raised her afterward. It reframes her whole chase excitement for fun attitude as something built on loss she spent years carrying alone. She keeps going, explaining how she chose to become a proper mage on her own terms instead of leaning on inherited talent, refusing to let genius expectations define her path. It's the most vulnerable the story's been so far, letting her comic relief energy sit next to genuine grief for once. Back to the plot, the team uncovers a mole among their own allies, feeding information to the enemy, setting up an elaborate trap disguised as a betrayal meeting. It's a full detective arc unfolding in real time, complete with fake defections, secret signals, and everyone pretending way harder than usual. The trap springs, and the true final boss finally shows her whole face. The goddess has possessed a twisted alternate version of Rin herself, born from an unconscious wish to be stronger during a moment of panic. Suddenly, this isn't about the goddess, it's about a warped mirror of yourself. Evil Rin, now fused with the goddess, lays out her actual endgame, steal the true grail and crown herself ruler of this entire pocket dimension. Original Rin refuses, backed by her servant and allies, setting up a standoff that's equal parts identity crisis and straight-up divine power struggle. A pair of Death Goddess sisters step in at the perfect moment to buy everyone time, forcing the corrupted goddess to retreat for now instead of finishing the fight on the spot. It's a temporary win, but it buys the crew breathing room to strategize instead of reacting constantly. Regrouping, Rin swears on her family name to finish this the right way instead of cutting corners, fully committing to the fight ahead no matter the cost. The team realizes beating a goddess on her own terms is impossible, so they start hunting for a loophole, specifically a second grail. More strategizing follows, mapping out exactly what everyone's lost and gained since this whole ordeal started, treating the losses like fuel instead of setbacks. There's a genuine "we've got this energy building now," less scared underdog vibes, and more "we've survived worse. Let's go win this thing." Another full send battle sequence kicks off, waves of enemies overlapping noble phantasms, and enough overlapping chaos that it's hard to tell who's fighting who anymore. The crossover energy is unmatched here, different mythologies and universes colliding in the same fight, like a dream match come to life. The battle keeps rolling, everyone leaning into their signature moves, clearly more in sync as a team than they were a few hours ago. It's less about individual flexing now and more about coordinated chaos, everyone covering each other's blind spots like they've fought together for way longer than they have. A wandering rose-obsessed knight shows up, convinced Rin is the villain he swore to defeat, challenging her to a duel of honor instead of a straight-up brawl. He's giving full romantic hero energy, treating a potential fight to the death like a formal ceremony rather than an actual threat. The duel plays out gorgeously, less about violence and more about mutual respect, with the knight visibly moved by Rin's resolve mid-fight instead of staying focused purely on winning. It flips from serious threat to beautiful display of conviction in real time, which is a whiplash in the best way. He eventually concedes, admitting he got played by a different evil version of Rin, and clarifies that both versions were being completely sincere about their feelings. His parting words lean into pure knightly poetry about souls being beautiful, regardless of outcome, closing the fight with zero hard feelings either way. The story shifts gears into a warm reunion. Rin and her hero companion visit the Death Goddess sisters in their own realm to say a proper thank you for the earlier assist. Turns out, these two are holding the second grail piece needed for the final plan, hiding in plain sight all along. Cue a wholesome slice-of-life detour, model shopping, sisterly bickering, and a tangent about why constructed beings feel alive, using actual psychology terms, dropped mid-conversation. It's a much-needed breather before things get heavy again, letting the found family energy of this whole crew shine for a bit. The shopping trip turns into a whole bit. Someone tries to pay with a stolen employee discount code. Gifts get swapped around, and everyone ends up buying each other presents instead of themselves. Genuinely funny, sweet, the kind of scene that exists purely to remind you these characters like each other. The vibe shifts hard when the sisters reveal they're willing to sacrifice their own fragile existence to power the ritual Rin needs to beat the goddess. Rin protests, refusing to let anyone pay that price for her, but the sisters insist it's their choice to make, not hers to overrule. They explain their reasoning, framing their fragile constructed lives as a gift born from luck in the first place. So spending that gift on people who mattered feels like the right ending rather than a tragic one. It's less we're sacrificing ourselves and more we get to choose how our story closes. An emotional goodbye unfolds, the older sister reflecting on how she and her sibling found real connection and identity through this journey, despite starting out isolated by fate. She passes on a symbolic gift representing that bond, asking Rin to keep shining the way she's shown them how to shine. Rin promises never to betray the trust she's been given, visibly shaken but determined, and the team pivots into final battle prep mode. There's a shift in her energy here, less chasing excitement for fun and more fighting, because people she cares about are counting on her, which hits different. The full lineup finally assembles, all 7 master and servant pairs standing together for the first time, officially making this the biggest crossover moment of the entire story. Everyone's tension eases slightly into something closer to camaraderie, like a found family squad rolling up to their final boss encounter together. Before the fight, the legendary king throws an actual banquet, sharing rare drinks and getting surprisingly reflective about fear, loss, and what it costs a god to hold on to power. Underneath all the bragging, there's real vulnerability, a rare moment where his whole "I own everything" persona quietly cracks open. He opens up about his oldest friend's death, shaping his entire worldview, revealing that even legendary heroes carry grief they never process. It reframes the goddess's desperation too, showing that gods fear losing their power for the exact same reason mortals fear losing anyone they love at a bigger scale. Rin reflects on her own losses throughout this whole journey, landing on the idea that grief and moving forward are part of being human, regardless of how powerful you are. The king respects her resolve enough to hand over one of his own treasures, no strings attached, purely out of genuine respect. Final pep talk energy kicks in as the team commits to their plan, refusing to play by the goddess's rules and instead building their own version of a fair fight. It's peak, we make our own rules energy, the kind of moment that turns an underdog story into an actual victory setup. The final battle finally kicks off for real, the whole assembled crew squaring up against the goddess with every noble phantasms activating at once in an overwhelming show of force. This is the moment the story's been building toward, every subplot and side character finally colliding in one massive fight. The clash escalates into full mythic-scale imagery, referencing ancient creation stories while blades, spears, and divine weapons all collide simultaneously. It's less a fight now and more a spectacle, the kind of climax that leans into everyone, gets their hero moment energy across the entire assembled roster. The goddess gets pushed to her limit, her disguise cracking under the combined pressure of the entire team working together instead of fighting separately. There's a real sense of payoff, every earlier setback and lesson learned finally clicking into place at exactly the moment it matters most for the group. Rin reclaims what was taken from her, piece by piece, mirroring an old myth about a goddess losing everything to get it back, one layer at a time. The fight ends less with total destruction and more with a kind of mutual understanding, proving strength alone was never the whole point. With the crisis resolved, the borrowed power holding everyone's temporary existence together starts fading fast, meaning it's officially time for goodbyes. Old rivalries soften into genuine friendship, promises get made about future drinks and rematches, and even loose subplots quietly wrap up with a wink instead of a big reveal. The farewells hit properly, Gifts get exchanged, inside jokes land one last time, and Rin makes it clear. This whole ordeal is something she'll never forget, no matter where her travels take her next. It's bittersweet in the best way, the kind of ending that feels earned instead of rushed. The story closes on Rin heading back out into the multiverse, richer in memories than in mana, promising to return someday for one more round with the people who had her back. The wandering knight gets the last word, vowing loyalty without needing a contract, because the bond was real enough to matter. Gaming lore is long and confusing, but I break it down every week. Subscribe so you never miss a plot twist or hidden detail. Thanks for watching.